Hello students, very good morning. Now today we'll see our next session, that is our third session of Principles of Programming Language. So today we will see the following topics. First is access control, static keyword, final keyword, nested and inner classes, command line arguments, variable length arguments. Now first topic, access control. As the name suggests, access modifier in a Java helps to restrict the scope of class, constructor, variable, method or data members. Access control is an important attribute provided by an encapsulation. Name itself suggests that it specifies what parts of a program can access the members of a class to prevent misuse. For example, you can get a clear view of it. It allows access to data only through a well-defined set of methods, so you can prevent the misuse of the data. So in Java, there are four types of access specifiers. One is default. If you don't use any access specifier, it is treated as a default specifier. It is accessible only within package but cannot be accessed outside of the package. Right? So default is what? It is treated as a default when we don't use any access specifier. So it is default. An access specifier precedes the reset of members type specification. That is, it must begin a members declaration statement. Right? Now next is private. So private member is accessible from within the class only. You can't access private members from outside of the class. Right? So it is accessible by private members can only be accessible other member of its class only. So in inheritance, this concept is very important while we inherit the classes. So next one is protected. The protected member can only be accessed within its own package and in addition by a subclass of its class in another packages. Means if we inherit one class, suppose I am having one class A class and I am going to inherit the class B from A, then private properties of A become a protected in the particular package. Right? So it happens only when inheritance is involved. Now last is public. Public member is accessible from anywhere. It can be accessed from within the class, outside of the class, within a package, outside of the package. It can be accessed by any other code also. There are no restrictions when we declare particular function, class or constructor as a public. So this is one chart. In that this chart the access of particular access specifiers. Right? So this default, private, protected, public are the access specifiers, and these are the classes. Same class, same package, or same package but subclass. Same package, non-subclass, different package and subclass, and different packages, non-subclass. So for example, if I am taking example of default, for example, if my class is default, then in the same class I can use or access that particular members. In a private also, for same class it is accessible, right, with all the access specifier. Now see here one example. For same package subclass, for default, protected and public, it may be accessible, but for private it won't. Right? Same way, for same package non-subclass, it accessible for these three but not for the private. Right? And see here, different package, different subclass. It won't be accessible. Only public data members can be accessible. So I am writing here yes. Now next point is static keyword. So static is non-access specifier in a Java. A static keyword in a Java is mainly used for memory management. When we made any method or particular variable as a static, that means we can call that particular method without creating an object. The keyword static indicates that the particular belongs to a type itself rather than to an instance of that type, right? So we no need to create a particular object. This means that only one instance of that static member is created, which is shared across all instances of the class, right? So we can apply Java static keyword with variables also, methods also, blocks also, and nested classes also. So our class is also static, our variables are static, our methods may be static, and our nested classes may also a static. When member is declared static, it can be accessed before any object of its class are created and without reference to any object, right? So static variables are initialized only once at the time of the execution. These variables will be initialized first before the initialization of any other. It is a variable which belongs to the class, not to an object, right? For example, in a below Java program, we are accessing static method M1 without creating any object of the test class. Now see here, Java program to demonstrate that static member can be accessed before instantiating a class. Now I am having one class that is test. So here one method, that is M1 method, static. That this method is static. So M1 can be created without creating an object. See here. So what M1? M1 only print from M1 message. Now in a main function, I am just calling M1 without creating of the object. So here just calling M1, right? So I am not going to create any object here. So M1 is called. Why? Because it is a static. So what will be the output? Output is from M1. Now next is the final keyword. So keyword final is non-access specifier in a Java. When a variable is declared with a final keyword, its value can't be modified. Essentially, it is a constant. This also means that you must initialize final variable. So, final it may be a variable, it may be a method, it may be a class. Means what? When I declared variable as a final to create a constant variable, so that variable is a constant variable. If I declare method as a final, then we cannot override that particular method. And if we declare that class as a final, then we cannot do inheritance in the particular class. Whenever we declare final variable, we must need to initialize it first, right? Now see here one example. I am having class demo. So final is a keyword, int max value. So my max value is now final, means what? It is a constant. Now demo, it is a constructor. Now I am going to assign max value to 100 first, right? Next I am going to create one method, that is my method, which only print the max value, right? Now next is public static void main. In that I am going to create one object, and I just called obj.myMethod. So when I call that my method, the 100 value will be displayed, right? So I cannot change the value of max. Now nested and inner classes. The Java programming language allow you to define a class within another class. Such a class is called as nested class, and it illustrated here. For example, this is my outer class and inside a class, this is my nested class. Nested, when you define a class within another class, such classes are known as nested classes. Writing a class within another is allowed in Java. The scope of nested class is restricted by the scope of its enclosing classes, right? Thus, if class, for example, if class X is defined within class Y, if class X is defined within class Y, then X does not exist independently of Y. Y nested class has occurs to the members, including private members of that class, right? Now, nested classes are divided into two categories. One is a static and one is a non-static. Nested classes that are declared static are called as static nested classes, and the non-static nested classes are called as inner classes. So here, class, outer class, and inside outer class, static class, it is a static nested class. Now see here one example. The purpose of nested classes is to group classes that belongs together, right? So same classes we need to grouping, which makes your code is more readable and maintainable. To access the inner class, create an object of outer class and then create an object of the inner class. So see here one example. I am having one class that is outer class. So in that I am having one variable x is equals to 10. Now in this outer class I am going to create or write another class, that is inner class. So class within a class. So it is called as nested class. So in an inner class there is one variable that is y, which is having 5 as a value. So here this is closed. Now public class, my main class. So I am having another class. In that I am having the main method, right? So I am going to create two objects. For outer class I am going to create my outer as object, and by using that now see here, outer class dot inner class, my inner. So if I want to create object of inner class, I have to use the outer class, right? So outer class dot inner class. Now my inner is the object name is equals to my outer dot new inner class. So by using this object we can create new inner class. So when I am going to print that particular my inner plus my outer dot x, so it is addition numbers. So 5 plus 10 is equals to 15. So what will be the output? 15 is the output. Now there are, as I am said, the nested classes having two categories. One is a static and one is a non-static. So the private inner class, or we can call it as a non-static nested classes also. Non-static nested classes also. So any non-static nested class is also known as inner class. In a Java inner class is associated with object of that class, and they can be access all the variables and methods of the outer class, right? So it can be used the all methods and variables of the outer class, and may refers to them directly in the same way that other non-static of the outer class can do. Now next is static inner class. So what does static inner class do? A static nested class is one that has a static modifier applied. If the nested class is static, then it's called a static nested class. Static nested classes can access only static members of the outer class, right? So it only accesses the static members of the outer class. So what are the advantages of this particular nested classes? Nested classes represents the special type of relationship, that is, it can be accessed all the members, all the data members and methods of outer class including private. So code reusability and code maintainability is achieved. The nested classes can direct to more readable and maintainable, right? And the code optimization is another advantage of this nested class. Now next is command line argument. So command line argument in a Java allow us to pass arguments during execution of the program. Means what? Now we have seen number of programs, Java programs. In that we are just used Java C for compiling. We are used Java C program name.java. But when we use command line argument with the while compiling that particular program Java C program name.java, we have to use or we have to give or pass the particular arguments at a runtime, right? As the name suggests, arguments are passed through a command line. Means what? At a runtime. The passed information is stored as a string array in the main method. So for example, Java demo argument 1, 2, 3. These are the arguments. Now see here. Here is one example. Class demo. I am having one class, that is demo class. Public static void main string b. Now see, I already told I will be explain this what is the public static void main string b in command line argument. Now see here, public is nothing but it is a normal access specifier. It means that we can call this method from outside of the class you are currently in. Right? This is necessary because this method is being called by Java runtime systems, which is not located in your current class. So my main method is always public method. Then next keyword is static. As I already told you, when we make any particular method as a static, no need to create object of that particular method, right? And when a static method to allow invocation from the class at a runtime. Then void is a return type. It return nothing, so void. Main is the name of my class, right? Now string args. So here you already seen string args. Now here instead of args, here b variable is there. You can write anything. But what is mean by that args? Argument string, right? And another variable is there, argument vector, argv. Now what is argument string? These are the arguments of type string that your Java application accept when you run it. So see here, these are the argument list, argument 1, 2, 3, 4. Number of arguments you can pass over there. Now see, in this program I am going to store that arguments in a b array. So I am just printing one line, system.print.out.println argument 1 is equals to, and I am just b of 0, just printing the first argument, third argument. Likewise, you can accept the variables from the command line and you can print that particular arguments. Now here, run the code Java demo. For example, after compiling, at the time of running Java demo, I am passing here two arguments, apple and orange. Right? So this apple will be stored in b of 0 and this orange will be stored in b of 1. So you must get an output like this. Argument 1 is apple and argument 2 is orange. Right? This is what the command line argument. So what is the importance of this command line argument? Command line arguments can be used to specify configuration information while launching your application. There is no restriction on number of Java command line. You can specify any number of arguments. Information is passed as a string. So we are going to define their string. String is a class in a Java. They are captured into a string args of your main method. Now variable length argument. Now as I already told you, argv means argument vector. So the variable length arguments is passed by using this argument vector. A Java method variable length arguments, that is called as var arguments, in a Java can have 0 or multiple arguments. When you are not sure how many arguments your method is going to accept, to address this problem, Java has included a feature that the beginning with JDK. that simplify the creation of method that need to take variable number of arguments. Means what? When we don't know how many particular arguments my method is going to accept at a runtime, that time variable length argument is used. This feature is called as var arguments. Means what? VAR-ARGS. var VAR-ARGS, variable argument, short form is there, and it is short name for variable length argument. In order to define var argument, we have to use 3 dots after that particular is you, right? So this 3 dots is used in the formal parameter of a method. A method that takes variable number of arguments is called as variable RET method, or simply a var arguments method. So when we declared or when we use variable length argument, means that we are agree to take any number of arguments when it is called. Right? So 3 dots are very important in the ARGs. Now see here one example, public class demo. So in a demo there is one method, public static void variable arguments, so var args, so string and 3 dots are there, and what is the name of my particular object? str is the object. So system.out.println number of arguments are, so str.length. System.out.println the arguments values are, I'm just going to print these 2 lines. After that, for string of str, so I'm assigning this str to s, means for loop will be run number of how many this for loop executed for number of arguments passed at the runtime. System.out.println and s will be there displayed. Now see here in a main method, I'm just called this method, so I'm passing here apple, mango, pear, right? Again I'm pass nothing, again I'm going to pass magic. So whichever particular variables you want to send through this particular function, the particular str which will be assigned to s will accept that particular variables. So this is the output. Number of arguments are 3. First time, how many arguments are there? 1, 2, 3. Second time, nothing. So it shows here 0. And next time, I have a magic. Right? So it shows that number of arguments are 1 and arguments values are the magic. So thank you. Any questions are there?